Hi, my name is Jared Burchell, and today I'm going to be discussing the EMS response to the West Fertilizer Company explosion that occurred on April 17, 2013 in West Texas. The incident is considered one of the most significant industrial disasters in Texas history, not only because of the damage it caused, but also because of the lessons it taught emergency responders across the country. The explosion resulted in 15 deaths, including many first responders, and injured more than 260 people. Entire neighborhoods were damaged or destroyed, and critical infrastructure in the area was heavily impacted. In this presentation, I'll go into detail about how EMS responded to this event, what challenges they encountered during the response, and how those challenges shape changes in emergency medical services and disaster preparedness moving forward. The incident began as what appeared to be a routine structure fire at the West Fertilizer Company. Firefighters and EMS units responded quickly, following standard protocols for a reported fire. However, what made this situation extremely dangerous was the presence of large quantities of ammonium nitrate, a highly explosive chemical commonly used in fertilizers. At the time, many responders were not fully aware of the scale of the hazard or potential for a catastrophic explosion. Roughly 20 minutes after the initial call, the fertilizer plant detonated with massive force. The explosion registered as a small seismic event and created a blast radius that caused widespread destruction. Nearby homes were flattened, a nursing home was severely damaged, and buildings belonging to the West Independent School District were heavily impacted, including structural collapse and fire damage. Initially, EMS response followed a typical structure fire protocol, with local units from West and surrounding communities being dispatched to the scene. However, once the explosion occurred, the situation escalated instantly into a mass casualty incident, requiring a much larger and more coordinated response. Mutual aid agreements were activated, bringing in additional EMS units, fire department, and law enforcement from across the region. The response expanded rapidly, involving not only local agencies, but also regional and state level resources. Dispatch centers became overwhelmed with calls from injured citizens, concerned family members, and reports of widespread damage, further complicating the coordination of resources. One of the biggest challenges EMS providers faced was the uncertainty on the scene. There was an ongoing risk of secondary explosion due to the unknown quantity and condition of hazardous materials still present at the facility. Additionally, many first responders, particularly firefighters, who were closest to the initial fire, were killed or seriously injured from the blast. This not only reduced available personnel, but also created an emotionally and operationally difficult environment. Communication systems were strained, or failed entirely in some cases, making it difficult for responders to coordinate effectively. Infrastructure damage, including blocked roads, debris, and power outages, slowed down access to patients and delayed response times. Another major issue was that many victims self-transported to hospitals or left the scene without being formally triaged, which made patient tracking and accountability much more difficult for EMS crews. Due to the large number of patients and the chaotic conditions, EMS personnel had to quickly establish a triage system to prioritize care. They used the START triage system, which is designed for rapid assessment during mass casualty incidents. Patients were categorized into 4 groups: immediate, delayed, minor, and deceased, based on the severity of their injuries and likelihood of survival. Common injuries seen included blast-related trauma, such as internal injuries from the pressure wave, burns from the fire caused by the explosion, and crush injuries from collapsed buildings and debris. Because traditional medical facilities were either overwhelmed or not immediately accessible, EMS teams set up improvised treatment areas near the scene to stabilize patients before transport. This required quick decision-making, adaptability, and efficient use of limited resources. Transporting patients efficiently was critical to prevent further loss of life. EMS crews distributed patients among multiple hospitals in the region to avoid overwhelming any single facility. 2 of the primary receiving hospitals were Hillcrest Baptist Medical Center and Baylor Scott & White Medical Center, Hillcrest. Air medical services, including helicopters, were used to transport critically injured patients more quickly, especially those with severe trauma or burns. Hospitals in the region activated their disaster response protocols, which included mobilizing additional staff, preparing emergency departments for high patient volume, and coordinating with EMS for incoming patients. Despite the challenges, the distribution of patients helped prevent any one hospital from becoming completely overwhelmed. As the situation developed, the incident command system was implemented to help organize the response. However, due to the sudden and catastrophic nature of the explosion, establishing a fully functional unified command structure took time. There were difficulties in maintaining accountability for responders, meaning it was not always clear who was on scene, where they were located, or whether they were safe. Coordination between agencies was also complicated by communication issues and the scale of the disaster. This highlighted the importance of strong leadership, clear command structure, and pre-incident planning, especially in communities with high-risk industrial facilities. This incident provided several critical lessons for EMS and emergency response agencies. One of the most important lessons is the need for pre-incident planning. Agencies must be aware of hazardous materials in their community and understand the risks associated with them. Another key takeaway is that scene safety must always be the top priority. Responders must assess risk carefully before entering a scene, even when there is pressure to act quickly. Communication systems need to be reliable and have backup options in case of primary system failure. Responder accountability systems are essential to ensure that all personnel are tracked and can be located quickly if something goes wrong. Finally, regular training for mass casualty incidents is crucial. Practicing these scenarios helps responders react more efficiently when real disasters occur. Following this incident, many EMS and fire service agencies across the country reevaluated their policies and procedures. There has been an increased emphasis on hazardous material awareness, including better identification and documentation of high-risk facilities. Training for disaster response and mass casualty incidents has become more comprehensive and frequent. Interagency coordination has also improved, with more focus on joint training exercises and communication planning. Overall, the lessons from this event have led to stronger and more prepared emergency response systems. In conclusion, the West Fertilizer Company explosion serves as a powerful example of both the bravery of first responders and the dangers they face in the line of duty. EMS providers played a critical role in triaging, treating, and transporting hundreds of injured individuals under extremely challenging conditions. At the same time, the incident exposed gaps in preparedness, communication, and hazard awareness that have since been addressed through changes in training and policy. The lessons learned from this tragedy continue to influence how EMS agencies prepare for and respond to large-scale disasters today. Thank you for your time.